May's wedding ring necklace in Civil War. The very first Uncle Ben clue appeared in Captain America's Civil War, and most fans didn't notice it until years later. When Tony Stark visits Peter Parker's apartment in Queens to recruit him for Team Iron Man, Aunt May answers the door. She's wearing casual clothes, a simple outfit, but around her neck is a ring on a necklace. A gold ring. Fans on Reddit spotted this detail in 2019, 3 years after Civil War released, and the theory became clear. It's her wedding ring. Uncle Ben's wedding ring. May doesn't wear it on her finger anymore. She wears it close to her heart, on a chain around her neck. This is how widows often honor their late husbands. The ring stays with them, a constant reminder, but not in the traditional place, because wearing it on her finger might be too painful. The necklace suggests Uncle Ben is dead, and May is still mourning him. She keeps his memory alive by wearing his ring every single day. This small detail confirmed Uncle Ben existed in the MCU, and that he was married to May Parker, and that something tragic happened to him. The ring became the first physical evidence of Uncle Ben's presence in Tom Holland's world, but Marvel never drew attention to it. No character mentioned it, no scene focused on it. It was just there, waiting for eagle-eyed fans to catch it, and when they did, it opened the door to every other Uncle Ben clue that followed. May's cryptic comment in Homecoming. In Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter Parker's secret identity is the driving tension of the movie. He's terrified Aunt May will find out he's Spider-Man. And when Ned discovers the truth, Peter panics. He begs Ned not to tell anyone, especially not May. And Peter says something revealing. He says, "I cannot do that to her right now. You know, everything that's happened with her." This line is intentionally vague, but it suggests recent tragedy, something heavy, something traumatic. Something that would make revealing Peter's dangerous double life too much for May to handle emotionally. Fans immediately assumed this was a reference to Uncle Ben's death, the loss of her husband. And an early script for Homecoming confirmed exactly that. There was a deleted scene where Aunt May gives Peter Uncle Ben's old clothes to wear to the homecoming dance. A suit, a tie, items that belonged to Ben. The scene showed May being sentimental, remembering her husband, and trying to keep his memory alive through Peter. But the scene was cut during production. Screenwriter John Francis Daly explained why in interviews. He felt the Uncle Ben reference distracted from Peter's emotional arc in the film. They didn't want Uncle Ben's death mentioned in just a throwaway line. It deserved more weight, more respect, so the reference was removed entirely. But the implication in Peter's dialogue remained. May has been through something recently, something painful, and Peter is still protecting her from more trauma. The deleted scene proves Marvel considered Uncle Ben's role, but chose to keep him off screen, leaving only breadcrumbs for fans to follow. The BFP suitcase in Far From Home. The first undeniable evidence that Uncle Ben existed came in Spider-Man Far From Home. When Peter Parker packs for his European school trip with MJ and Ned, he pulls out an old brown suitcase from his closet. It's vintage, worn, clearly used for years, and on the front of the suitcase, stamped in gold letters, are 3 initials: BFP, Benjamin Franklin Parker, Uncle Ben's full name. This detail was incredibly subtle. The initials appear on screen for maybe 2 seconds. Most fans watching in theaters completely missed it, but director John Watts confirmed it later in interviews. When a journalist asked whether Tom Holland's Peter Parker even had an Uncle Ben in the MCU, Watts gave a surprising answer. He said yes, definitely, and pointed directly to the suitcase initials as proof. "Did you notice his initials on Peter's suitcase?" Watts asked. That was the MCU's way of acknowledging Uncle Ben without showing him, without casting an actor, without filming a death scene. Just initials on a suitcase. Peter inherited the suitcase from Uncle Ben, which means Ben is gone, either dead or permanently absent from Peter's life. The suitcase is a relic, a family heirloom, a piece of Uncle Ben that Peter carries with him on his first big trip to Europe, but Peter never mentions it, never explains where it came from. He just uses it, like it's always been his. This clue confirmed what fans suspected. Uncle Ben was real. He existed in the MCU, and Peter had a relationship with him. But whatever happened to Uncle Ben, Marvel wasn't ready to show it. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Uncle Ben's hidden MCU story, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any Spider-Man content. We're covering every detail, theory, and Easter egg as Brand New Day approaches. Now let's get back to the clues. First name drop in What If Zombies. The first time Uncle Ben was mentioned by name in the entire MCU happened in the strangest place possible. Not in a Spider-Man movie, not in an Avengers film, but in What If Episode 5, the zombie episode. Where the Avengers turn into zombies and the world falls apart, Peter Parker is one of the survivors, fighting alongside Bruce Banner, Bucky Barnes, and Hope Van Dyne, trying to escape the infected heroes. And after Hope gets bitten and starts turning, she asks Peter a question. How do you stay so upbeat after everything? And Peter's answer breaks hearts. He lists everyone he's lost. My mom, my dad, Uncle Ben, Mr. Stark, now happy. This was massive because it confirmed Uncle Ben existed and that he died. Just like Peter's parents, Uncle Ben is gone, and Peter carries that loss with him every day. The episode aired in September 2021, over 5 years after Tom Holland debuted as Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War. 5 years of fans wondering, 5 years of theories. And this was the first time anyone in the MCU said the name Uncle Ben out loud. The episode's writer Matthew Chauncey later confirmed that Uncle Ben's mention was always in his original draft for the episode, and he fully expected Marvel Studios to remove it, because the MCU had been so careful about avoiding Uncle Ben up to that point. But producer Brad Winderbaum kept it in, making it official canon. Uncle Ben is part of the MCU timeline, and Peter Parker lost him. The What If episode takes place in an alternate reality, but the backstory before the zombie outbreak is identical to the main MCU timeline, which means Uncle Ben's death happened in both universes. This wasn't just a what-if moment, it was confirmation. Uncle Ben existed, and he's dead. The missing reaction in No Way Home. Spider-Man: No Way Home brought together 3 generations of Spider-Men: Tobey Maguire from Sam Raimi's trilogy, Andrew Garfield from Mark Webb's films, and Tom Holland from the MCU. All 3 sitting together, talking about their lives, their losses, their struggles, and in one incredibly emotional scene, Tobey and Andrew open up about losing their Uncle Bens. Tobey talks about how his Uncle Ben died, shot by a criminal Peter could have stopped but didn't. The guilt, the responsibility. Andrew shares a similar story, his Uncle Ben, killed, and the lesson it taught him. Both actors deliver these lines with pain in their voices. You can see it in their eyes. Uncle Ben's death still haunts them. And this is the perfect moment for Tom Holland's Peter to say, "Me too," to acknowledge that he also lost an Uncle Ben, to bond with his multiversal brothers over shared trauma. But he says nothing. He doesn't react, he doesn't flinch, he doesn't even acknowledge that they mentioned Uncle Ben by name, he just stays quiet. This silence is deafening, and fans had 2 main theories to explain it. The first theory is that Peter was too focused on grieving Aunt May. She had just died minutes ago in his arms, killed by the Green Goblin, and hearing Tobey and Andrew talk about loss was too much. He couldn't process it, he couldn't engage. The second theory is darker. Maybe Uncle Ben's death in the MCU happened differently. Maybe Peter wasn't responsible. Maybe he didn't fail to stop a criminal who then killed Ben. Maybe Ben died of natural causes, or in an accident, or some other way that didn't involve Peter's guilt, which would explain why Peter doesn't connect with Tobey and Andrew's stories, because his Uncle Ben story isn't the same. Either way, Peter's silence tells us something important. His relationship with Uncle Ben is fundamentally different from every other Spider-Man. May delivers the line as she dies. The most shocking Uncle Ben clue in the entire MCU came at the climax of Spider-Man: No Way Home. After the apartment battle with Green Goblin, Aunt May is mortally wounded, dying in Peter's arms, blood on her clothes, sirens in the background, and with her final breath, she tells Peter the most iconic line in Spider-Man history. With great power, there must also come great responsibility. The line, the lesson, the foundation of Spider-Man. But it's not Uncle Ben saying it, it's Aunt May. This was a massive subversion of expectations, because in every other Spider-Man story, Uncle Ben delivers this line before he dies. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Mark Webb's Amazing Spider-Man, the comics, the cartoons, Uncle Ben says these words, and then he's gone. It's his legacy, his final lesson to Peter, the thing Peter carries with him forever. But in the MCU, it's May's line, May's legacy, May's lesson. She replaces Uncle Ben in the most important moment of Peter's origin story. And here's the detail that makes it even more interesting. Peter's response. He says, "I know." Not what, not "I'll remember that," but "I know." Like he's heard this before. Like someone already taught him this lesson, and he's just being reminded. But who taught him? The movie never says. Later in the film, when Peter repeats the line to Tobey and Andrew, Tobey finishes the quote before Peter can. With great power comes great responsibility. Tobey recognizes the words immediately, because his Uncle Ben said the exact same thing, word for word. The lesson is universal across the multiverse, but in the MCU, Aunt May delivered it, not Uncle Ben. May became Peter's moral compass, his teacher, his inspiration. Uncle Ben's traditional role was completely transferred to her. May's grave and Brand New Day trailer. The Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer dropped on the 18th of March 2026, and it gave fans another Uncle Ben clue. Or rather, another Uncle Ben mystery. The trailer shows Peter Parker visiting Aunt May's grave, 4 years after her death in No Way Home. He's alone, standing in a cemetery, wearing civilian clothes, paying his respects to the woman who raised him, the woman who taught him responsibility, the woman who died because he tried to save everyone. The scene is heartbreaking. Peter looks older, more tired, like the weight of being Spider-Man has aged him. But here's what fans noticed immediately. Uncle Ben's grave is nowhere to be seen. May is buried alone. No shared headstone with her husband. No Uncle Ben Parker resting beside her. Just May, by herself, in a solo plot. This confirms the mystery that started in No Way Home. When Peter visited May's grave at the end of that movie, fans expected to see Uncle Ben's grave next to hers, but it wasn't there. And now, 4 years later in Brand New Day, it's still not there. So where is Uncle Ben buried? There are 3 possibilities. First, he's buried in a different cemetery. Maybe he died before he and May moved to Queens. Maybe his grave is in another state. Second, he was cremated. His ashes scattered somewhere meaningful. No grave to visit. Third, and this is the wildest theory, Uncle Ben isn't dead. He's alive somewhere, separated from May, divorced or estranged, which would explain why they're not buried together. The trailer doesn't answer these questions, it just reinforces them. Peter has lost Aunt May, but Uncle Ben's fate remains completely unknown. Tom Holland wanted Tobey Maguire to play Uncle Ben. Before Spider-Man No Way Home brought the multiverse Spider-Men together, Tom Holland did an interview where he shared his dream casting for Uncle Ben. If the MCU ever decided to show Uncle Ben in a flashback or a scene, Holland said he wanted one specific actor to play him: Tobey Maguire. Yes, the original Spider-Man. The man who played Peter Parker in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy from 2002 to 2007. Tom Holland wanted Tobey Maguire to play his Uncle Ben. The irony is absolutely perfect. In Sam Raimi's films, Tobey's Uncle Ben was played by Cliff Robertson, an older actor who delivered the iconic "with great power" line before being killed by a carjacker. That Uncle Ben shaped Tobey's Peter into Spider-Man, and now Tom Holland wanted Tobey to play the Uncle Ben who shaped him, creating this beautiful meta connection between the 2 generations of Spider-Men. Peter Parker becoming Uncle Ben, the student becoming the teacher. Of course, this never happened. Tobey Maguire did appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, but as Spider-Man, not as Uncle Ben. He showed up in his red and blue suit, swinging through the MCU, fighting alongside Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield. But the idea shows how much Tom Holland respects Tobey Maguire's legacy, and how the MCU could have honored Uncle Ben in a completely unique way. A way that connected all 3 Spider-Man franchises. But instead, Uncle Ben remains invisible, a ghost, a name mentioned in What If, initials on a suitcase, a ring around May's neck, but never a face, never a voice, never a scene. Marvel chose to keep him off screen, and Tom Holland's dream casting became just that, a dream.